Hi everyone, my name is Charles Raether. Today I'm speaking with one of our clients from Ukraine, Yevgeny Shevchenko. Yevgeny, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Good afternoon, Charles, and a very good afternoon to all your viewers.
We wanted to talk today about a situation many Ukrainians in the US are facing when temporary status is ending and you need a long-term legal solution. Yevgeny, we worked together earlier this year and successfully resolved your case, so I'd love to hear your story firsthand. Let's start with your background. When did you first come to the US and what was your status at the time?
Yes, we arrived in September of 2023 under U4U. It just so happened that we arrived here after August 16th, and because of that, we weren't able to apply for TPS. Our parole was set to expire in the middle of September of 2025, and already a full year before its expiration, we understood that we absolutely needed to take some kind of action. The circumstances worked out in such a way that we actually managed to establish a business here.
We just needed something to get by, to make a living, but it grew into something really good, quite profitable, thank goodness, and we decided to take full advantage of it.
Tell me a few words about your business. It's in North Carolina, right?
A small automotive dealership, a dealership located in the city of Raleigh, North Carolina. We started this venture with my family, and since everything had already fallen into place for us, professionally, we decided to take advantage of this sure thing. It's the E2 visa. I had known about it for a long time, but the main problem was that we couldn't apply for it while already residing within the United States. So we needed to. A great many people are saying that with U4U, there's an opportunity to perform a change of status. However, legally, this possibility simply does not exist. There have been instances where USCIS erroneously granted individuals different statuses, but these can be revoked at any given moment. Therefore, we made the decision to do everything correctly, entirely in accordance with the law. The one thing we did was to submit our application separately. You know about our situation. I submitted my application individually, and my wife and our child applied separately so that we could make the trip one after another, in our particular case to Canada, because it was the nearest embassy that was processing E2 visas. And it just so happened that we already possessed Canadian visas, so we submitted our applications there.
If I remember correctly, we started working together several months before your status expired, around spring of that year. At the time, the rules were changing quite rapidly for Ukrainians. How did that affect your case?
Our plan was that if I didn't manage to obtain my visa, then my wife, who is currently residing here in America, would pack up all her belongings, give up our house, and we would then proceed to move on somewhere else. It just so happened that my interview was scheduled even before all these changes regarding non-immigrant visas, and I successfully qualified under the old rules. I went through it on September 11th, already after these new changes had been introduced.
How did the interview itself go? Were there any unexpected questions?
There was no real discussion that took place because the interview had already been arranged well before any of these changes, and they themselves didn't even have a clue what to do with me or what was actually happening. It was a transitional period, so there were absolutely no problems at all. Even when my wife went for her interview 2 months after me in Toronto, and she had no trouble at all getting a simple tourist visa for Canada. In other words, they were completely satisfied with the.
After the interview, your case went to additional administrative processing for a few weeks. Can you describe what that period was like?
The officer asked me, what was your immigration status in America during these past 2 years? He understood that we had been living there. He could see our travel history. I told him, UHP, Ukrainian Humanitarian Parole. And he elaborated that it was a J4J program specifically for Ukrainians. Then he inquired, did you possess valid work authorization? I immediately responded, of course, we certainly did. We were completely legal, and we departed from the US just a few days before our status was set to expire. So I provided a concise and very direct answer, and then he hands me a yellow slip of paper. I understand that this is a rejection. I managed to keep my composure, and I asked, is this truly a refusal, or is it perhaps just an additional check? He replied, we need to be absolutely sure about what you've told us. We require a little more time to thoroughly review your case, as your situation is quite unusual and there are very few precedents. And essentially, it was a refusal that wasn't a refusal. They kept the passport with them. And the much-anticipated administrative inspection started, and it continued for 5 weeks.
One common concern in these cases is whether officers assume there's immigrant intent because someone had already lived in the U.S. for a long time. Did the officer focus on that?
He was concerned by my answers to questions about the origin of the funds, the amounts involved, and let's just say he himself was looking at something on his monitor and listening with half an ear to what I was saying. Since we didn't possess a formal business plan, we merely transcribed our already operational venture onto paper. Consequently, I was fully aware of all the figures. Having prepared myself somewhat, I simply laid out the entire situation as it stood, detailing the number of employees, whether they were US citizens or not. By the way, a peculiar question that arose was, where did the money come from? And that's all. You see, money is what concerns everyone, and I can tell you it's not even the officers who are primarily concerned about this J4J situation, but it's actually CBP that's more worried when you're entering the United States. That's what they inquire about. They even questioned my wife about the case. So my wife and child with dependent visas issued just a week ago, they were interrogated by CBP in Canada. Their passport control happens when you depart. Where did the money for the business come from? Even though she is a dependent, she wouldn't even know that.
Wow, I didn't know that. Interesting.
Where did the funds for your business come from? Where is your husband? What kind of company is this? What exactly do you do? And there was even a very strange question. How much money did you bring into the United States in 2023?
Interesting.
In our case, everything was completely transparent. We declared everything, and my wife knew the key details of the case, so it all went smoothly, but it's stressful.
That really shows how unpredictable consular interviews can be, even when everything is done correctly. In the end, you received the E2 visa for the full validity period, correct?
It was granted for the full term, even though my visa was approved around mid-October. After a thorough review, it was issued until the very end of December 2027.
Your case was one of the earlier successful E2 cases for Ukrainians in this situation, and since then, we've seen similar approvals. For Ukrainians currently in the US who are unsure what to do next, what would you say to them?
Could I please just add my 2 cents about your company? First and foremost, I am truly grateful to you, Charles, and your entire team for all the hard work you've done. We sprung such a complex case on you completely out of the blue, and there were so many changes. We even decided to reapply in Warsaw just to be on the safe side. In short, we also took up a lot of your valuable time. Thank you for your humanity, for your responsibility. You are among the very few companies that don't extort money from people in desperate situations, but you quoted a specific, very reasonable price, and nothing changed until the very end. There were no extra payments. The communication was absolutely 100% effective. Even in situations where I might have been a little bit too persistent, they provided answers to all my questions. Therefore, if anyone has any doubts, and if you have the opportunity to present this case effectively, I wholeheartedly recommend it.
We're very happy that we've worked together, and we wish you all the best going forward.
Thank you very much.
Спасибо. До свидания.